So in chapter 8, it says this under the American Apartheid book. It says, quote, Margaret Sanger, born to a Corning, New York socialist in 1883, was the most famous American popularizer of eugenics. Although she is usually lauded as a powerful birth control pioneer and feminist. While Sanger's early campaigns were aimed primarily at Eastern Europeans, she turned her attention to blacks in 1929. That year, Lothrop Stoddard wrote his book, The Rising Tide of Color Against White World Supremacy, while serving on the board of directors of Sanger's American Birth Control League. And Sanger's lover, Havelock Ellis, reviewed it favorably in her journal, Birth Control Review. That year, she also discarded labels such as, quote, good or bad breeding stock, end quote, in favor of, quote, class, end quote, class or income level, end quote, unquote, as she began researching birth patterns in Harlem, where 224,760 of New York City's 330,000 African Americans live. Sanger entitled the June 1932 Birth Control Review, quote, the Negro number, end quote, and she recruited black leaders to contribute articles in support of the eugenic cause. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People's founder, we know that's the NAACP, founder W.E.B. Du Bois wrote, and Sanger often quoted, quote, the mass of ignorant Negroes still breed carelessly and disastrously, so that the increase among Negroes, even more than the increase among whites, is from that portion of the population least intelligent and fit, and least able to rear their children properly, end quote. Charles S. Johnson, Fisk University's first black president, wrote that, quote, eugenic discrimination, end quote, was necessary for blacks. And a dozen black writers agreed in print. In January 1939, Sanger's American Birth Control League merged with the Clinical Research Bureau to form the Birth Control Federation of America. Later that year, Sanger devised the Negro Project, which was established for the benefit of colored people, quote unquote. Specifically, black women who were being denied access to city health services. These first experimental, quote, family planning centers, end quote, sought to find the best way of reducing the black population by promoting eugenic principles, and were also founded in black areas such as Macon County, Alabama, site of the notorious PHS syphilis study. Du Bois also suggested approaching black churches, declaring them open to, quote, intelligent propaganda of any sort, end quote. And added that her organization and, quote, other agencies ought to get their speakers before church congregations and their arguments in the Negro newspapers, end quote. Sanger took Du Bois' advice, writing, quote, the most successful educational approach to the Negro is through religious appeal. We do not want the word to get out that we want to exterminate the Negro population, and the minister is the man who can straighten out that idea if it occurs to any of their more rebellious members, end quote. She recruited the support of such luminaries as Adam Clayton Powell, Jr. of the Abyssinian Baptist Church, and later the Reverend Martin Luther King, Jr. Yeah, I'm pausing for effect. Now either somebody's lying or somebody's lying. She recruited the support of such luminaries. That means people who are well known, people who are out there in the social stratosphere. She, that is Margaret Sanger, recruited the support of such luminaries as Adam Clayton Powell Jr. of the Abyssinian Baptist Church, and later the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr.? Adam Clayton Powell is just above Raphael Warnock on your left. And we all know who Martin Luther King Jr. is. He's at the bottom. The reason why I got the question mark there is because it's been debated by some. Others, it's not a debate. But I'll leave it up for you to decide. And oh, by the way, Harriet Washington is a black woman. Just saying.